racism. If we go back to our conventional wisdom definition of racism, we see that a racist is someone that believes that one race is better than another. What would you say to someone that said blacks are better basketball players than whites on average?
I would say that is true.
Would you agree the NBA is 90% African American?
Yes, I would.
Why is that?
Because they think that we're black, that we're better at athletes and stuff like that.
As it is now, yeah, I would say that black men are better at basketball than white men.
Okay. Because of the results that we see.
Because of the results that we see.
I mean, I thought that if a white person has the skill of a black person, they could be on the basketball team. I'm not that well acquainted with it in terms of the racial, how it's occurred that the racial makeup of basketball teams is as such as it is. I have always believed it probably had to do with their skill at the game.
Well, that wasn't too hard. Most people have no problem with saying that blacks are better at basketball than whites, even though that does fit that common thread among definitions of racism. See the disconnect? So I guess it's okay to say that one race is better at something than another as long as the one race is never white people. And if you think I'm kidding or maybe paranoid, let's see how many people would be willing to state that white people may be just as skillful in other areas as blacks are at basketball. Are black people overrepresented in basketball?
Yeah, I think they are.
Why?
They're probably better players.
Is it safe to say then that the white people might be better at human relations?
No.
Do I think there are areas where white people excel and it's due to their skill and that's why more white people are in those areas? That's a tough one. I think it could be true, but I don't know what the areas would be.
Are white men better at keeping jobs and paying bills than black men? Now that just opens up a whole bag of tricks. That just throws in socioeconomic status, racism, culture, everything.
Now, the point I'm going to notice, Tina, was that when I asked you if black men were better at basketball, you gave me basically a one-word answer with a couple of qualifiers.
Right.
If I asked you if men are better at holding down a job, I got 3 paragraphs.
Right.
Can you see maybe a different standard that you assign to blacks versus you assign to the whites?
No.
No?
No.
Even though you gave me a yes, blacks are better because of the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
But whites, even though the evidence shows they're better at this, we've got to back up and we've got to really consider this more.
Yeah.
You don't consider that any kind of a double standard at all?
No. I wouldn't call it a double standard at all.
So the conventional wisdom is that it's acceptable to acknowledge the skill and ability of certain races in some areas, but no one can seem to find any areas where white people demonstrate their skill and ability. It's another one of those disconnects. I mean, who can deny it? In areas where people of color excel, we credit them for their capabilities. But how do we view areas where whites excel? We condemn them for their racism. This double standard is a clear example of how the conventional wisdom on racism has become itself a form of anti-white bigotry. And I'll demonstrate this by asking about an area where white people do well.
Why is it that Caucasian students test higher on standardized tests than black students?
Well, because the tests are made for them.
The tests are made for the Caucasians?
Oh, yeah. The best thing you can do in school is be white, because that's the easiest way to get through. And primarily, most people who get through school who are white don't ever learn anything. All they do is memorize the answers until they take the test.
I would say who writes the IQ test when thinking about who scores higher. So if you have white people that are writing the tests and creating the scoring for the tests, then of course white people are going to score higher on IQ tests.
I know that there's been evidence that the questions are cultured towards the white, or each question is culturally biased towards the white culture.
Most of the tests are composed and put together by non-African Americans.
Well, first of all, you have to look at who wrote the tests. We don't always know. So there may be cultural bias.
See that? Pick an area where white people outperform others, and the conventional wisdom is that it's not due to their skill, but due to some type of white...